Hey, what's up? This is Terrell Davis, and you're listening to the Live Life on Offense podcast.
Blue 42, hut, hike.
Welcome to the Live Life on Offense podcast with Hall of Fame running back and two-time Super Bowl champion Terrell Davis and myself, Kevin Shoemaker, real estate entrepreneur and CEO of the Terrell Davis Group. We dive deep into what it takes to develop the championship mentality for your business and your life. We provide you the playbook for entrepreneurs that moves the chains down the field so you can live a life that is more than just existing, but a true life on offense. Let's kick it off.
Kevin, I am so excited that our next guest is a former teammate of mine. He is a guy that's been business from the day he stepped onto the gridiron. People say, gridiron? Yes, the gridiron. When we were playing back in Denver in the early 90s, Rod Smith, who I'm talking about, was always talking about business. He and I and Orlando Scary, we have our own little fake law firm we have was Jew Birds and Foot, and I can't tell you what that means, but that was our law firm, and we would always discuss business opportunities while we were in the locker room, and he and I became business partners some years later. But so yeah, he's just a great player, and I just can't wait to hear what he has to say today.
TD, when you look back at Rod of the 14 years with the Broncos, from 95 to 07 and the big number 80 that jersey then retired. It's not only the two times Super Bowl champion like yourself, but he still holds the most receiving yards. I believe it was a little over 11,389 yards, and most touchdown receptions at 68 than any other undrafted NFL player in history. And then 11, he still holds 11 Bronco franchise records. So just amazing guy. I'm really looking forward to jumping in on the call.
Incredible numbers for a guy that was undrafted, many years in the league. So you know what, Kevin, let's just get him on. I can't wait to hear from my man Rod. So let's get him on right now. All right, we're gonna bring in Rod Smith now. Rod, how you doing, my man?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for allowing me a chance to be on the podcast.
Well, this podcast, we're going to focus a little bit of something that's not the opposite, but, we know what your professional career was like on the field. So we're going to do a little something a little different than that. And we're going to talk a little bit about business and being an entrepreneur. The one thing I used to notice about you in meetings is that you used to take notes. And I remember catching wind of that one of my first few times being there at the Broncos in 1995. I look around in the meeting room, everybody else is staring at the screen, and you're in the meeting with a notepad and a pen taking notes. And that caught my eye because I had never seen that before. Talk about what made you take notes in a meeting room when nobody else was taking notes.
Well, I'm taking notes right now. As a matter of fact, I just wrote all you guys' name on the top of my page because I always try to. The one thing I learned about taking notes, they always say a dull pencil is better than a sharp mind. You can't remember everything that's going on, and especially in football, especially the way I had to come into the business undrafted, I wanted every advantage I could get as far as for myself. And so I took notes to make sure I knew what was going on. If coach said a coaching point, I wanted to write it down. I didn't want to just try to remember it. And when you go back home late at night and, all the adrenaline's gone from practice, I wanted to be able to just get in a quiet place and study those notes. So that's always been, to me, a big advantage, even now in business, is I'm usually the only person in the business meeting taking notes, and it's kind of weird to me.
And I'm writing that right now. A dull pencil is better than the sharp mind. Okay, I got that. I just wrote that down. I've just taken some notes for the very first time. So, Ryan, we all know about your on the field accomplishments and stuff like that. Talk about what you're doing now in business.
I actually got a couple things going on. I've been in international coffee business for over 10 years now. With Organo, been in that for over 10 years. Real estate, do quite a bit in real estate, own properties for rental properties, different things like this. Just finished my book last year. Last year. Finished my book last year. So
I got a copy of that book. I have a copy.
Absolutely. I talk about you in there a little bit, because people that inspired me and motivated me you wrote a book, so that actually help me finish my book. And I got a whole nother business we'll talk about later about your book, my book. There's several athletes that are writing books, and we need to put a conference together, dude, and we'll kill it because there's championships that are won in those books. There's so much power in each one of those books. And I'm taking my book right now and I'm turning it into a class. I'm actually doing that right as we speak. I'm finishing up the workbook. I'm putting a workbook with my book because most people see it. They think it's about football because it's got orange and blue and all this and that. You talk about Super Bowls, but it's really about discipline. It's about principles and how I took those same principles and I took them into the football world. Of course, changed my life in the football world, but also took those same principles in the business world, in my spiritual world, in my personal relationships. Those same principles help me in all those areas. So I want to be able to share with other people.
So the books and the class? What's the name of the class and what's the name of the book?
The book is The Rod Effect. If you go to therodeffect.com or therodeffectbook.com, people can get it. I tell them I think on one of the sites, I got to check it up. It's one site you can download the book for free. I wrote a book for purpose, not for profit. And I want people to just be able to get the message because people see us as athletes. They see us as these celebrities. I'm like, no, we're just real people who learn not to quit. We got knocked down a lot of times. We kept getting back up. And so I wanted to show them that side of us, not just this helmet and shoulder pads and a number. I want to be a real person. So, therodeffectbook.com, you can download it for free. But if you get the physical copy, you get a personalized autograph. I literally write a message for every single person I wrote that I signed the book for. But now I'm taking the principles and I'm going in depth. And it's going to be the Rod Effect Inner Circle. Kind of like a huddle, but it's different because it's business. It's more of an inner circle. Like you and Kevin, y'all got an inner circle. You got people that you guys deal with on a different level. And so that's why I call it the inner circle. And it's got a workbook attached to it. And I'm going to be doing live classes for 9 weeks. I think I got it laid out for 8 to 9 weeks going over each chapter. So
I'll be joining that class, by the way.
I'll
be up front. I'll be that kid up front with my notepad and my
But here's the thing, I'm going to do it virtual. Yeah, I'm gonna do it virtual first. Yeah, I'm gonna do it virtual first, so you can reach people in different city, states, countries, or whatever. And I'm gonna do it through different platform, and I'm gonna do it all virtual first. And eventually, you have those weekends where you have people fly in for 2 days, and you're in the room with them, just giving it to them, man. Anything they want, need, get them unstuck, help them make money, advance a business, shut down a business. Emotional stuff. It's a bunch of stuff that goes with us that people don't think.
That's amazing. It sounds like an amazing workshop, and I'd love to participate. And you talk about the principles with that, Rod. Break down a couple of the key principles that you feel that have had made the most significant impact on your life.
You know what? I'll give you a quick synopsis of the book, and that's what the 8 principles that I follow come from the book, and it's the word dreaming. I used to be a big dreamer, man. I was a daydreamer, and people told me I was crazy. Why do you always, do you always daydream? You always want to be over here when we're over here. I never really lived in the moment. Because the moment I didn't like. Living in the projects and on welfare and food stamps was not something I wanted to keep reminding myself of. So I literally lived on the other side of the tracks, as we call it. And so I remember having those dreams. And so when I was looking at the concept of writing the book, I took the word D. The D is the word desire, responsibility, environment, affirmations, mentorship, integrity, never quit, and gratitude. I took those 8 principles and I wrote a chapter, or really it's a class with each one of those principles, because those things are what led me to the things I have right now, the things I've had in the past, and I really want to be able to help people.
That's amazing. So I'm just going back to when you were playing. When did this sort of entrepreneur spirited person, or you just talked about the acronym dreaming, when did that all be like crystallized in your head that you have that sort of that energy that's going to not only be a good football player, but it's going to translate to off the field success? Because you've been very successful in your business endeavors, and now you have that. When did that start for you? When you were playing, before you started playing, like when?
Probably about 7 years old, when I used to sell candy. When I used to sell candy at school, any way I could make some money, because we didn't have any money. Let's just be real. It was about money. We didn't have money, and all the kids at school, well, most of the kids at school had money, but I had a product that they needed, which was candy. See, they didn't have a little store on the corner with candy, so literally I would find $1, I would sell stuff or little pop bottles and stuff. Back in the day, you could sell them and they give you a nickel or a quarter or whatever for these bottles. And I would go buy 100 pieces of candy with my $1, and I would literally take it to school, and you get 3 pieces of candy for a nickel. So I would come home. I would literally come home with like four. I would come home with like $4. Yeah, dude. I would come home with like $4. I would eat some of the candy, of course, so I didn't ever make my full profits. But literally, I would come home with like $4. And I know this sounds weird, but this is the way I did it. I would come home with like $4, and I would take the $4 and I would do it again. Then I got another $4, so now I got $8. So then, as I got a little bit older, I started advancing. I started making like Rice Krispie treats and popcorn balls, and I would sell those because I could make more money off each one of those. And I would literally have a book bag. I didn't have a book bag like traditional book bag. I had a duffel bag because I couldn't afford a book bag. I had a duffel bag with popcorn balls and Rice Krispie treats in there. As soon as I walked up to the class, people would come over and buy all my stuff before the bell even rung. And so now I got a few more dollars. So my entrepreneurial dream started then because it was the hustle, man. I had to figure it was legal, it was ethical. Yeah. But I just had to get it in, man, and I literally have had that same mentality since about 7 years old.
That's funny you mentioned that because I have a similar story. I would do the same thing. I had a paper route, really longer than I can really have one. My brothers had it. It was actually their paper route, and I would help them in the mornings, getting up at 4:00 in the morning, folding those big old newspapers and then riding them up and down these big hills and throwing them. And I'd take that money and I go down to this it was a laundromat, and they would sell noun laters. And now later they were selling for 10 cents a pack. And I go in there before school and buy me a whole bunch of noun laters, go to school and sell them for 25 cents. And just like I was just doubling my profits. And that was my hustle. Like you said, it was just a little side hustle to make some more money. But that's funny that you have that, and that kind of created that sort of desire that you've always had. You've always been a hardworking person on the field, off the field. That's always been part of your sort of core. And how much is that important for somebody who wants to go into business, wants to be an entrepreneur, and you say, for me, it's like hard work has to be part of the equation. It's not a substitute for it. How important is that for somebody to be a hard worker?
Man, you know what? And I've been sharing this with my son. He's 24 now, and I said sometimes just you working will open doors. The doors don't open if you're just parked. Your ass got to be moving. See, the thing is, I said, you do stuff now that you don't want to do to get to the door that opens for you where you want to really go. You know what I'm saying? And right. So some people are just lazy. What I'm noticing about a lot of people today, because of the internet, you can click and get stuff done. People have become lazy. They don't want to literally put the shoes on and wear the soles out of their shoes from actually hitting the pavement. So most of the things I do, that work part is you said it best. If you don't have that, you have nothing. I don't care. You can have the best product, you have the best services, but if somebody's ass is not working, it's not going to happen. Somebody's got to be putting in some hours. I just had a quote I've sent to my group. I got a separate group of people that I work with my network marketing business, and I just sent it out. I said, and so sometimes getting to the top is lonely, and some of the people who start with you won't finish with you, but keep going anyway. I said, you just got to keep going. And so, my life was set up that way. I had some great people, teachers, coaches, especially coaches because of sports, but I had some great teachers, actual administrators in schools and principals who showed me things that I didn't learn at home. And one thing I noticed every day was they was there. So they showed up every day. And a lot of people lose because they don't even show up.
Who are some of those people? Go ahead, Kev.
When you look at surrounding yourself with you talk about coaches and mentors and but building that dream team as an entrepreneur, how do you what qualities did stood out that you look for that really helped you gain traction quickly?
The thing is though, you want in a way you kind of got to progress. And one of the chapters in the book is on mentorship. Most people think mentorship and coaching is two different things. Coaching, you can coach the masses, but you only mentor the few. Because mentorship is deep. It's like it's in your core. It's like you have access to this person that other people don't have. And so I have very few mentors. Robert Kiyosaki is one of my mentors. I sit down with him. We have private conversation. I'm in a room out of all the thousands of people around the world with him. I'm in a room where there's 20 of us. See, that's mentorship. when he's on stage in front of 15,000 people, that's coaching. It's different. And so for me, I just look for people who had those qualities that I wanted to become. So we're always a person growing to become somebody else. So I would try to find the people who, at least on the surface, had the things that I wanted. They didn't have the problems, the issues. They worked through that. I wanted those people in my life. So and those people are very intimidating to go approach. But if you want it bad enough, you'll approach them. So some people are intimidated to approach me, but if they really understood that I want the best for them, and that don't mean I can mentor them, because mentorship is deep, like I said, but I can coach them. And that's why I'm putting this program together, because I can get massive amount of people at one time. But I look for those qualities, man, and people who are doing some good things. They're good to people, and they're good for people. And what I mean by that is you watch a person, how they treat somebody who can't do something for them. See, I watch that stuff. If I see a person treat a waiter or a waitress a certain way, I'm done. I've literally lost some. They were close relationships because how people treated other people. And I said, dude, you can't do that. This is just my own personal beliefs. I was just at the store. I'll just tell you real quick. I was just at the store grabbing some donuts for my grandsons. When they get out of school, they do good. I get them a little treat. So I said, I'm going to go get them some chocolate milk and some donuts. And there's a guy sitting out there outside. And of course, he's asking for money. He wants some money to go get some food. I said, man, listen, come on in here. I'll buy you some stuff. He said, well, I could tell he really wants the money. He might want money for drugs or whatever, but that's not my place to call it. And I said, man, let's just come on in here. Let me get you some stuff in here. So I brought him in the store. We got him a little food. And then he wanted like $2. And I gave him $20. And see, I'm doing right by me. He just the bridge in the vehicle. I'm doing right according to what my spiritual beliefs are. You have ability to help this man for a minute, then help him. And so I look for people like that. I look for people who not necessarily, they don't have to go out of their way to do stuff. They just do it because that's who they are.
Wow. That's something. I know, and I guess in every facet, sports, there's challenges along the way. And you had to overcome a lot of those challenges to get to where you are today. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you transitioned out of football into business, and how did you deal with those challenges?
The good thing, T, and you know, because I was always in the when we're in the training room, I'm reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'm reading books outside of football. I was doing that literally my whole career, because remember, I was undrafted, used a 6th round draft pick. We didn't know how long it was going to last. And see, and we saw guys, and you can name some, I can name some, we won't probably, that who came in with a lot of fanfare and they lasted very short. Right. Their game was very short. So we know it's going to end. We just don't know how it's going to end. So I was preparing for transitioning out of the NFL for the 14 years I played. I was preparing for transition. I was literally reading books, studying different things, trying different business things while I was playing, when I had, a lot of income coming in. So this business deal wasn't going to make or break my lifestyle. Made some of those mistakes during those times. And therefore, when I did transition out, I recognized what was going on and what I did right, what I did wrong, who I trusted, who I shouldn't have trusted. And I'm still going through that, trying to figure out who to trust, who not to trust.
Yeah,
but I'm still taking notes. I'm still taking notes. But the transition part for most athletes, and I'll even say it on this podcast, my big goal, dream for me is a program for former athletes, financial literacy for former athletes, because why does 90-some% of the guys, this is just in pro football, leave the game and end up bankrupt, 90-some%. But the whole time we were playing, all of us had an advisor. So what the hell were they advising you on if everybody left broke at the end of the day? You see what I'm saying? So to me, that bothered me. It still bothers me to this day. I'm 10 years plus out of the game, and it still bothers me. I just saw a thing about Joe Smith, who played 1st round draft pick in basketball, how he lost $61 million. I'm like, how the hell does that happen unless somebody's not paying attention? And I personally take it on, as an athlete, I take it on with myself. I said, I'm going to put this program together, and I'm going to get some former athletes, and we got to help each other somehow, some way. But that transition is brutal, man, because you're not making the money you were making before, but you created this lifestyle that your spending habits won't keep up.
There are a lot of players. You talked about it. There are players that they come into the league and they might be high round draft picks or whatever, And I think from that standpoint, they do have this idea that they're going to play football forever. And so their immediate attention is on, let me just focus on my here and now and just be the best player I can be. And then whatever it is, have a good time and enjoy it. And you talk about you coming in undrafted, me 6th round pick. And that's true for me coming in. I thought about business pretty early, probably earlier than I would have if I had been a 1st round draft pick or something like that. I probably would have just felt like, you know what, this is going to go for a long time. So let me not think about that. The challenges of any business is really trying to, number one, get into a space where you can succeed. I mean, we don't know. You get into things you think you like, you get into that space, and whatever happens. But the mentorship, and I know you talked about coaching versus mentorship. Watching players like John Elway with his car dealership and stuff like that, how did that influence what you thought about? Was that something that you looked at John and kind of saw what he was doing and followed that?
Man, it was absolutely amazing to be in that room with John, because I remember one time, I don't know if you remember this, we were in watching film, and Coach Shanahan would always say this. You would hear him talk about it. He said, if you're a receiver and you can't be one-on-one, you're coaching or selling cars. And he said
he made it seem like a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't remember. You remember what I told him? He said, guys, you can't be one-on-one. You're gonna be coaching or you're gonna be selling cars. And I'm like, well, damn, Coach John just sold his dealership for $85 million. That car thing might not be that bad. And everybody cracked up laughing, But I literally used to watch John, dude. I used to be in awe of John because John was in all-season workouts. I missed no all-season workouts my whole career. I went to 600 straight all-season workouts. So when it comes back to what you're saying, you're going to have to put the work in. So this was my job. So why would I take, it's the off-season, but it's still, I'm preparing myself for my job that pays me millions of dollars if I do it right. So I didn't miss. And John was there all the time working out with us and sweating and hurting and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, this dude go do a commercial, make $200,000, but he's over here making the same $100 from the workout that I'm making. And right then I said, okay, pay attention, dude. If this guy's here, you have no choice but to be here. That's what made me never miss. John Elway was there every single time. He had some times where he missed because of the schedule. He's the face of the entire region. He's not just, the quarterback of our football team. He's bigger than that. And I used to see John, man, I used to get so excited. I'm like, man, you mean you could be that big as far as this lifelike figure and then big in business, but he's still coming over here doing the same workouts I'm doing. So I would see that and I said, you can do both. Pay attention, take the notes, and learn from it. And he was a real big influence. And John, I never really told him that, but I mean, it was a real big influence, man, watching how John did it.
Who are some other players that you looked at besides John Elway that had that sort of business acumen early on in their careers?
You know what? Because my locker was right in front of Shannon Sharp, and Shannon is absolutely killing it right now in TV, man. I love watching his show on Undisputed. But Shannon taught me one thing I learned from Shannon, being right in front of Shannon. When Shannon would clean his locker, I would clean my locker. He probably never paid attention to all those years. I was mimicking.
Yeah, but by the way, you had the I remember that little small stash. Not a small stash. Rod would have a stash of he's got the sweetest tooth I've ever seen in this world. That locker was packed with goodies. I knew if they had ran out of Snickers or M&Ms or whatever they were selling,
it was in my locker.
I'm going to my locker. That's.
But see, I was going back to the candy days back when I was little. In case this football thing didn't work out, I was going to sell the candy right there on the spot. I was going to make me some money somehow, some way. So, but I would watch Shannon, and Shannon would always tell me, keep the main thing, and that was football. That's why I didn't have a whole bunch of endorsements and different things early on in my career, because I literally put my time, effort, energy into football. And you would see guys on the phones all the time. And it just dawned on me when Shannon had retired. And I remember I used to tell him, I say, hey, dude, whoever you're talking to, you're going to get to go see him. And they'd be like, what do you mean? I said, you keep talking. I said, every time we have a break, you're not in your playbook. You're on the phone talking to some girl or some dude. I said, whoever you're talking to, ass is not at work. You're at work. Why are you on the phone? And they didn't get it until they got cut. Until they got cut, they would get it. Matter of fact, I saw your boy Chris Cole the other day. It was about 3 weeks ago. And he came, I saw him at this restaurant, and we was out, and he came up, and he said, man, thank you. I was like, what's up, Cole? He said, man, you know what? All that stuff you told me came true. I was trying to prepare him for life in football and out of football at the same time, and his career was cut short because he didn't pay enough attention to it. Remember when me, you, and Landis Gary used to always have our law firm, Jew, Bird, and Foots?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
See, most people don't know about it. Don't tell them. Don't go in too deep on that.
I'm not.
But I see a Landis right now he's flipping real estate and stuff like this. I follow Landis and I root for that brother, man, because he's out there doing it, man. He's taking these houses and transforming them and selling them. And he's like, hey, what do you think about this kitchen, this, and that? And I love it, man, because I remember me, you, and him talking about it was like a law firm. The name of it was like a law firm, but we just wanted to do business. That's still fresh in my mind to this day.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I won't tell him what it stands for, but
yeah, don't tell him.
That was Rod, that was Orlandis and myself, and that's true. We would talk about business a lot, and that happens a lot in life. You know, if people don't know, there's a lot of discussions going on. Sometimes it's political discussions, sometimes it's religious discussions, but a lot of times there's business discussions going on. But I do remember too that Mike Shanahan was a little kind of, hey, we don't talk business in here, because if you bring somebody into a deal and something goes bad, then it kind of tears up the entire fabric of the locker room. So those are really good days there. Right now, if I'm a young entrepreneur and I'm listening to this podcast, what is the one takeaway that that you should want them to take away from listening to what you're saying right now?
You know what? And it's something I'm studying right now. Is every person has a message. This is what I'm studying right now. Every person has a message, and a lot of times people think you have to be at the NFL level before your message will be heard, so to speak. And business is not like that. And what I've learned, I'm telling you, when I say recent, I mean like today, like every single day, is if you're one chapter ahead, let's say in a book, any book, if you read one chapter ahead, there's a whole bunch of people who haven't read that chapter. You can actually teach them. See, most people have a message that they're afraid to get out because they think they have to master the book before they teach it. And with the way the day's economy is, and the internet and these video platforms and stuff, you can literally teach a course like after day one. You can read the first chapter and you can teach that chapter the next day. Literally, you can find an audience online and teach it and charge $30 or something, and you'll find people that'll buy it. And so a lot of people are struggling right now because they're trying to master something first. Master that chapter. That's it. Master that chapter, and while they're reading chapter one, you go read chapter two. Just be one chapter ahead. And I'm learning that. That's why I'm putting this stuff together, because I'm that way. I was always thought I had to have all my stuff lined up first, and I don't. I said, I got enough knowledge right now that's very, very valuable to a group of people. Now my thing is go find those people who are willing to sit down with you for 9 weeks, and you train and coach and teach them how to go make their life better. And so that would be my thing for an entrepreneur. Quit trying to wait until you mastered it. Quit trying to wait until you made $1 million. You don't need to make $1 million. If you made $1, you're ahead of the other people. They ain't made none. You're ahead. Teach them how to make $1. Then teach them how to make 2 after you made 3.
I love it. Staying one chapter ahead. Rod, when you look at your daily rhythm, each day in and out of the grind, and as you're building all this out, is there anything special that you do to one, just sort of keep the right mental mindset, as well as a rhythm to play at such a fast pace as an entrepreneur?
Well, you know what? The thing is, though, I try to keep it real grounded. Like right now, as we speak right now, my family's going through a little challenge. My aunt just passed away a couple of days ago, so the family's trying to get to Indiana. My daughter's been in the hospital for 4 days, so I have my grandsons. I have both of my grandsons. I get them up in the morning, I take them to school, I get them breakfast, I got to go pick them up. That's why I was saying I was getting the donuts and stuff like that at night. I let them, play their video games. I play the video games with them, put them to bed. And so for me, and just even right now, because some people invited me to some stuff. I was supposed to be on a podcast actually with a kind of famous comedian, Brad Williams, last night. I was supposed to be at his deal last night. I said, man, I can't make it, because I got my grandsons and this is family. I got to do it. But then I thought about this too. What if I didn't put my life in this position? See, my life is in position where I don't have a job. I don't have to go and do anything if I don't want. I have money coming in if I wake up and lay in the bed the rest of the day, or if I get up and go outside and shoot basketball. I have money coming in because of my work that I put in years ago and that I'm constantly putting in. So if I need to take off a whole week to care for my grandsons or my family, I can do it. And see, because most people focus on the money, but they don't focus on those freedoms that it give you if something happens. And so that's why I keep it real grounded. And I just drove and took my sister to the airport. You know, she could catch an Uber, but I said, no, I want to get me some time with my sister. So I drove to her house and took her to the airport. So stuff like that keeps me grounded. But this is why I work so hard as well.
Well, Rod, we want to thank you for joining the podcast. Some very interesting, insightful tidbits and stories. I'm excited for you. You know, your success on the field, obviously what you're doing right now. Great. It's just fun to see you doing what you're doing, and I'm not the least bit of surprised that you're as successful as you are, my man.
No, I appreciate it, man. Like I say, sharing the locker room with you in the huddle, you know, being a part of some great moments, not just in sports, but just I think one thing, and I'll say for the people that are listening, you know, 'cause I've been listening to you guys' shows and really loving the content that you guys are putting out. And honestly, especially it's for entrepreneurs, because that's what I am. I'm one of those guys. I'm never going to park. I'm always going to be working. But you was always that way as well as a you know, people, we're kind of more famous as football players, but you know, me and you've done several different business deals together and real estate and stuff like that. And that's what I tell people about Terrell Davis. He's not just this helmet, a 2,000-yard running back Hall of Famer. No, that's true. That's a part of who he is. But the person, the man, the father, you know, the brother, that right there is the part that I get to see that other people don't get to see. That's so important. In our locker room, we had a lot of fun because I think we built a friendship first. And I think that's what helped us win. Yeah. So in business, if you can build the right friendships where people really, really know you, I think the business part gets easier because you can have the tough conversation, you know, what we call it high volume, zero results conversation, but still remain friends and still remain business partners and go out there and change the world.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Rod. Thanks for the kind words, brother.
No problem. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Rod.
Wow, Kevin, that was incredible. Rod brought it. He is full of just, you can tell Rod's a worker. You know, ever since he came on and I played with him and watching him come in as an undrafted player and to ascend to, you know, you read up his credentials. Undrafted player, leads the Broncos in all-time receiving yards. But just, you can tell, like having him in a huddle and just playing with a guy like that, how inspiring it was for me to watch him do what he was doing. And you got me and Rod and Ed McCaffrey and Shannon Sharp and a lot of guys who weren't high round draft picks, and we all fed off each other. So that was fun to hear what he had to say and how he's taken what he did on the field and applied that to business. And I'm telling you, the same passion is there, the same mentality, the same hunger, everything he displayed on the field. You can hear it in his voice. And of course, he and we are partners in a couple of deals that we've been partners in for a very long time. And just a real classy guy, solid as they come. And it's just great to hear a lot of stuff that he was talking about.
Well, you know, as we're talking through it, what went through my mind is when on Sundays when you hear the guys mic'd up, mic'd up and they're playing sort of the guys in the huddle that are mic'd up, and you hear the intensity. And I felt that same intensity during the podcast today. And going back to when he was a kid in the hustle back with selling candy to obviously he had enough profit to have the stash in his locker, but a couple of talks about notes. I have a page full of notes of preparing every day for the job, and staying a chapter ahead. I mean, there's when you in life it's easy to find. I shouldn't say it's easy, but everyone seeks out, a coach, or they talk about having a mentor. But, for him to really dial that down, that you can coach to the masses, but mentor to the few, and, just some things that really hit home there.
And just like I talked about it, I told him he was the first person that I'd ever seen taking notes. And that is true. And I thought it was a little bizarre because I'm like, who takes notes in a team meeting room? I had never seen that. in college, high school. We go into the team meeting and coaches say what they're going to say, and we just sit there and we listen to it, and then we leave and we try to do what the coaches tell us to do. But I saw Rod and taking notes, and so of course when I see Rod taking notes, I started taking some notes, and he is right. When he talks about that dull pencil is better than a sharp mind, it is absolutely true, and that is a nugget that if you're listening, that is something you can put into practice immediately, and it does pay dividends. So it was really great to hear him share that nugget with our listeners.
Yeah, another great podcast. Looking forward to the next one coming up.
Absolutely, Kevin. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you subscribe and review everywhere you listen to podcasts. And you think this will make a difference in someone else's life, make sure you share it with them. Check out all the other episodes and other valuable resources at livelifeonoffense.com.